A human soldier arrives, and the disabled alien princess freezes, but she resembles her lost husband. The crystal walls of Zirian Prime's royal palace sparkled under the twin suns, casting rainbow patterns across the marble floors. Princess Zareth moved her mobility chair slowly through the great hall, her blue-scaled hands gripping the armrests with nervous tension. Today was different. Today, for the first time in galactic history, a human would enter their sacred halls. The other nobles whispered behind their hands as she passed. Some looked at her with pity, others with barely hidden disgust. 5 years had passed since the terrorist attack that left her legs useless. But the stares never stopped. She had once been the greatest warrior princess in the galaxy, fighting alongside her beloved husband Prince Kelmer. Now she was just a broken reminder of what she used to be. Your Highness. Chancellor Vexton approached with his usual stern expression. The human delegation will arrive shortly. Are you certain you wish to attend this ceremony? Zareth lifted her chin proudly. I am still a princess of Zirian. My presence is required. The Chancellor's purple eyes showed concern. These humans are primitive creatures. They fight with simple weapons and show no respect for proper protocol. Perhaps it would be better if you remained in your chambers. No, Zareth said firmly. I will be there. The great doors opened with a deep rumble, and the human delegation entered. Zareth had seen images of humans before, but seeing them in person was different. They were smaller than most galactic species, with strange pink skin and hair that came in various colors. Their ambassador, a tall woman with gray hair, walked with confidence despite being surrounded by much larger alien beings. But it was the soldier beside her that made Zareth's breath catch in her throat. Staff Sergeant Marcus Chen stood at attention, his dark hair neat and his uniform crisp. He was not particularly tall by human standards, but there was something about the way he carried himself that reminded her of, no, it couldn't be. But his eyes, dark and serious, held the same gentle strength that Kelmer had possessed, the same protective stance, the same quiet confidence. Her hands began to shake. Marcus noticed the princess immediately. He had been briefed about the royal family, but seeing her in person was different than reading reports. She sat in what humans would call a wheelchair, but it was clearly advanced technology. Hovering slightly above the ground, her blue scales caught the light beautifully, and her eyes were a striking silver color. But what struck him most was the pain he saw in those eyes. The ceremony began with the usual diplomatic speeches. The human ambassador spoke about peace and cooperation between species. The Zirian Chancellor talked about the honor of this historic meeting, but Marcus kept glancing at the princess, who seemed to be struggling with some internal battle. When the formal presentations ended, the nobles began to mingle. Most avoided the humans, viewing them with curiosity and suspicion. Marcus stood at attention, as protocol demanded, but he watched as the princess sat alone near a large window. No one approached her. That was wrong. In his experience, leaving someone isolated, especially someone who seemed to be hurting, was never right. Against all diplomatic protocol, Marcus walked over to her. Your Highness, he said, bowing respectfully. I'm Staff Sergeant Marcus Chen. Zareth looked up at him, and for a moment, her silver eyes widened with what looked like fear. Up close, the resemblance was even stronger. The same strong jaw, the same way of standing with shoulders back but relaxed. Even his voice had a similar tone to her husband's, though the accent was completely different. You should not be here, she whispered, her voice shaking slightly. I apologize if I have offended you, Princess. I simply noticed you were alone and thought you might appreciate some company. This surprised her. Most beings avoided her now, either out of pity or discomfort. You are not afraid of me. Marcus tilted his head, confused. Why would I be afraid of you? Your Highness, because I'm broken, she said bitterly, a warrior who can no longer fight, a princess who cannot even stand. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then carefully knelt beside her chair so they were at the same eye level. May I speak freely? Princess, she nodded, too surprised to speak. Where I come from, we have a saying. It's not about how hard you fall. It's about how you get back up. You're still here. You still came to this ceremony, even though it must be difficult. That doesn't look like broken to me. That looks like strength." Zareth stared at him in shock. No one had spoken to her like this since Kelmer. "You do not understand. Our ways, human. A Zerian warrior who cannot fight is nothing. Then maybe your ways need to change." Marcus said gently, "On Earth, we have warriors who fight from chairs like yours. We have leaders who cannot walk but still lead armies. The body is just the vessel. The spirit is what matters." Before Zareth could respond, Chancellor Vexton appeared beside them. His face flushed with anger. "Human, how dare you approach? The princess without permission. Guards." Marcus immediately stood and stepped back, but his eyes remained on Zareth. "I meant no disrespect, Chancellor. I was simply introducing myself. This is exactly what we expected from your primitive species," Vexton snarled. "No understanding of proper behavior or respect for authority, Chancellor," Zareth said quietly. But her voice carried the unmistakable tone of royal command. "The human showed me courtesy. Perhaps if our own people did the same, I would not need to seek conversation with visitors." The Chancellor's face paled. "Your Highness, I did not mean." "You meant exactly what you said," Zareth replied. "This human has shown me more respect in 5 minutes than most of our court. Hasn't 5 years?" Marcus looked between them, realizing he had stumbled into palace politics he didn't understand. "Princess, I should return to my position. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you." As he turned to leave, Zareth called out, "Sergeant Chen." He stopped and looked back. Would you be willing to speak with me again? Perhaps you could tell me more about these Earth warriors you mentioned?" Marcus smiled, and for a moment, Zareth's heart ached because it was exactly the same gentle smile Kelmer used to give her. "I would be honored, Your Highness." As the human delegation prepared to leave for their guest quarters, Zareth sat, alone again by the window. But this time, she was not thinking about what she had lost. She was thinking about what she might still find, and for the first time in 5 years, she felt something she had forgotten existed: hope. 3 days had passed since the ceremony, and Princess Zareth found herself thinking about the human soldier more than she cared to admit. She had sent a message to the guest quarters, asking Staff Sergeant Chen to meet her in the palace gardens. It was a private area where they could speak without the watchful eyes of the court. Marcus arrived exactly on time, wearing his dress uniform but carrying a small bag. He bowed respectfully as he approached her position near the fountain. "Thank you for coming, Sergeant Chen," Zareth said, gesturing to a stone bench beside her chair. "Please, sit. I promised you could tell me about Earth's warriors." Marcus sat down, maintaining a respectful distance. "I brought some images on my tablet, if you would like to see them, Your Highness." As he showed her pictures of Paralympic athletes, wounded veterans who had returned to active duty, and disabled military leaders, Zareth listened in fascination. On Zerion, anyone with physical limitations was considered unfit for any important role. "This woman," Marcus said, pointing to a photo of a woman in a racing wheelchair, "lost her legs in combat. Now she holds the world record for the fastest human in a chair. And this man leads one of our most elite military units from his wheelchair. Your people do not cast aside the wounded." Zareth asked quietly. "We believe that experience, especially difficult experience, makes us stronger," Marcus replied. "Some of our best leaders are those who have faced the greatest challenges." Zareth was quiet for a long moment, staring at the images. "My husband used to say something similar. He said that true strength comes from continuing to fight when fighting seems impossible." "Your husband sounds like a wise man," Marcus said gently. "May I ask what happened to him?" The princess's silver eyes filled with pain. "He died defending a human colony from raiders 5 years ago. The same attack that left me like this." She gestured to her legs. "But our people covered up the truth. They said he died in a training accident. They were ashamed that a Zerian prince would risk his life for humans." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. "He died protecting innocent people. That's the most honorable thing a warrior can do." "You truly believe that?" Zareth asked, searching his face. "I know it," Marcus said firmly. "On Earth, We have a saying, greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. Your husband was a hero. For the first time since Kelmer's death, Zareth felt someone truly understood what she had lost. He would have liked you, I think. You have the same way of seeing things clearly. Over the following weeks, these garden meetings became a regular occurrence. Marcus would arrive each afternoon, and they would talk about everything, from military strategy to philosophy. He began bringing small gifts, earth music, books translated into Xerian, and eventually, sketches of adaptive equipment ideas. This is a design for a combat chair, Marcus explained one day, showing her detailed drawings. It will give you mobility in battle while protecting your vital areas. The weapons systems could be controlled with hand movements. Zareth studied the designs with growing excitement. Your people have built such things. We've built similar designs, but this one is specifically for you, based on Xerian technology and your fighting style. Marcus had spent hours researching her combat history. You were known for your speed and precision attacks. This chair would enhance those abilities rather than limit them. You would help me fight again, she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I would help you do whatever you wanted to do, Marcus replied. The question is, what do you want? Before Zareth could answer, they heard footsteps approaching. Chancellor Vexton appeared with 2 guards, his face dark with anger. Princess Zareth, this has gone too far. You cannot continue these secret meetings with this human. These meetings are hardly secret, Chancellor, Zareth replied calmly. We meet in the public gardens. You know what I mean, Vexton snapped. The court is talking. Some say you have forgotten your place. Others whisper that you have forgotten your husband. Zareth's eyes flashed with dangerous anger. How dare you speak to me of my husband? Marcus stood up, sensing the tension. Perhaps I should leave, Your Highness. No, Zareth said firmly. Sergeant Chen, tell the Chancellor about my husband's real mission. Tell him how Prince Kelmer died. Marcus looked between them, understanding that this was important. Prince Kelmer died defending the human colony of New Hope from raiders. He saved over 10,000 lives, including 300 children. He fought for 6 hours straight, holding off the enemy until reinforcements arrived. The Chancellor's face went pale. How do you know this? Because it's in our military records, Marcus said quietly. The human families he saved have honored his memory every year since his death. They named their new hospital after him. His sacrifice meant everything to us. Zareth watched the Chancellor's shocked expression with satisfaction. Now you know the truth. My husband died as a hero, not in some meaningless training accident. And this human has done more to honor his memory than anyone in our own court, Your Highness. Vexton said carefully, even if this is true, you cannot continue these meetings. The other nobles are concerned about your attachment to this human. My attachment. Zareth's voice was dangerously quiet. I am learning to fight again. I am remembering what it means to be strong. If the nobles have a problem with that, they can speak to me directly. Marcus stepped forward. Chancellor, I have nothing but respect for Princess Zareth and the memory of her husband. My only goal is to help her rediscover her strength. Your goal, Vexton said coldly, is irrelevant. You are a human. You do not belong in our royal garden, and you certainly do not belong in our princess's life. Zareth moved her chair forward, positioning herself between Marcus and the Chancellor. Sergeant Chen belongs wherever I say he belongs, and right now, he belongs here with me. The Chancellor stared at her for a long moment, then bowed stiffly. As you wish, Your Highness. But mark my words, this will not end well. As the Chancellor left with his guards, Zareth turned to Marcus. I am sorry you had to witness that. You stood up for me, Marcus said, clearly moved. Thank you. You gave me back my husband's honor, Zareth replied. It is I who should thank you. As they sat in the garden, both realized that something had changed between them. The resemblance to her husband had brought them together. But now something deeper was growing, a connection built on mutual respect and understanding. And in the palace shadows, others were watching, planning, and growing more concerned about the bond between the human soldier and the princess. The attack came at night, just as Marcus had feared it would. He was in his guest's quarters. reviewing security reports on his tablet, when he heard the sound of energy weapons firing in the distance. Years of military training kicked in immediately. He grabbed his sidearm and rushed toward the princess's chambers. The palace corridors were filled with smoke and the sound of running feet. Guards were shouting orders, but Marcus could tell from their voices that they were confused and disorganized. This was not a random attack, it was planned. When he reached Zareth's wing, he found her personal guard lying unconscious in the hallway. The door to her chambers was slightly open, and he could hear voices inside. The human has poisoned her mind, someone was saying. She no longer remembers her place. The plan was perfect until he arrived. Another voice replied, "We should have eliminated him first." Marcus recognized the second voice. It was Chancellor Vexton. His blood ran cold as he realized what was happening. What about the princess? A third voice asked. "She will have another accident," Vexton said coldly. "Just like before. Only this time, we will make sure she does not survive." Marcus's mind raced. Another accident? The princess had told him she was injured in the same attack that killed her husband. But if these people were responsible for that attack, he needed to get to Zareth immediately, using his military training. Marcus moved silently through the palace's service corridors. The princess had shown him these passages during one of their garden walks, explaining how they had been built centuries ago for servants to move unseen. He found her in the royal archives, sitting at a computer terminal with a shocked expression on her face. She looked up as he entered, relief flooding her features. "Marcus, thank the stars you are safe," she whispered. "I have discovered something terrible. We need to leave now," Marcus said urgently. "Vexton and others are planning to hurt you." "I know," Zareth said, her voice shaking. "But it is worse than that. Look at this." She turned the screen toward him. It showed official documents, communication records, and financial transactions. Even with the alien text, Marcus could understand enough to see what they meant. They planned everything, Zareth continued. The attack on the human colony, my husband's death, my injuries, all of it was arranged by a group of nobles who wanted to prevent any alliance between our species. Marcus studied the documents more carefully. This shows payments to the raiders who attacked New Hope Colony. And here, orders to make sure Prince Kelmer was in the most dangerous position during the battle. They knew he would never abandon innocent people, Zareth said bitterly. They used his honor against him, and when the attack failed to kill me as well, they have been waiting for the right moment to finish what they started. Why now? Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Because of you, Zareth said softly. Because I was starting to remember who I used to be. Because I was asking questions about my husband's death. Because I was no longer the broken, quiet princess they wanted me to be. Suddenly, they heard footsteps in the main corridor outside the archives. Marcus quickly moved to the door and peered out. Armed guards were searching room by room, moving toward their location. "We need to go," Marcus said. "Do you know another way out of here?" Zareth nodded. "The old passages connect to the lower levels. We can reach the communications center from there." "Good. We need to get this information to the galactic authorities and to my people." As they moved through the narrow passages, Zareth's chair hovering silently above the floor. Marcus's mind was working on multiple levels. He was planning their escape route, analyzing the enemy's likely movements, and trying to figure out how to expose the conspiracy. "Princess," he said quietly as they paused at a junction, "there's something I need to tell you. When I was assigned to this mission, my superiors told me to be careful. They suspected there might be factions that opposed human-Zerian cooperation. You knew this might happen. We suspected political opposition," Marcus admitted. "But we never imagined it went this deep. Murder, terrorism, covering up your husband's heroism. This is far beyond normal political disagreement." They reached the communications center, but found it heavily guarded. Marcus counted at least 6 armed soldiers, all positioned to prevent exactly what they were trying to do. "There has to be another way," Zareth said. Marcus studied the layout carefully. "Can you access the palace's internal communication system from here?" "Yes. But what good will that do? They control the main channels." They control the official channels, Marcus corrected. But every building has emergency systems. Can you activate the palace-wide emergency broadcast? Zereth's eyes widened with understanding. If I broadcast from here, everyone in the palace will hear it, the servants, the guards, the remaining loyal nobles, everyone. And my people monitor all emergency frequencies, Marcus added. Even if they cut the transmission, enough will get through. While Zereth worked on accessing the emergency system, Marcus kept watch. He could hear the search parties getting closer, their voices echoing through the corridors above. "I'm in," Zereth announced. "The system is ready." "Then let's tell everyone the truth," Marcus said. Zereth activated the broadcast. Her voice, clear and strong, filled every room in the palace. "People of Zirion, this is Princess Zereth. I speak to you from hiding because there are those who would silence the truth. 5 years ago, my husband Prince Kelmer was murdered. Not in a training accident, but while defending innocent humans from raiders. The same conspirators who killed him tried to kill me, and tonight they try again." She read the key evidence from the documents, naming names and detailing the conspiracy. Marcus watched with pride as she transformed from the broken princess he had first met into the strong leader she was meant to be. "I call upon all loyal citizens to help expose these traitors," she concluded, "and I call upon the galaxy to know the truth about Prince Kelmer's sacrifice." The moment the broadcast ended, alarms began ringing throughout the palace. But these were not the conspirators' alarms, they were the sounds of loyal guards. Finally understanding what was happening, "Now we fight," Zereth said, her silver eyes blazing with determination. Marcus smiled. "Now we fight," as they prepared to face whatever came next. Both knew that everything had changed. The truth was out, and there was no going back. The palace erupted into chaos after Zereth's broadcast. In the communications center, Marcus could hear the sounds of fighting echoing through the corridors above. Some guards were loyal to the crown, others to the conspirators. The civil conflict he had hoped to avoid was beginning. "We need to move," Marcus said, checking his weapon. "They'll be coming for us now." Zereth was already preparing. During their weeks of meetings, Marcus had taught her basic combat techniques adapted for her chair. Now she activated the weapons systems he had helped design, her hands moving confidently over the controls. "The throne room," she said. "If we can reach it, I can access the main palace security systems. We can help coordinate the loyal guards." Marcus nodded. "Stay close to me. I'll handle the advanced threats. You cover our flanks." They moved through the service corridors, but the enemy had learned about these passages too. The first group of armed conspirators appeared at a junction ahead, blocking their path. "Surrender now, and we will make your death quick," one of them called out. Marcus stepped forward, his training taking over. "Counter-offer, surrender now, and you might live to see trial." The lead conspirator laughed. "One human and a broken princess against 6 trained soldiers. You have no chance." "You're about to learn something about humans," Marcus said calmly. "We don't calculate odds. We just fight." The battle was swift and brutal. Marcus used the narrow corridor to his advantage, preventing the enemies from surrounding them. His military training showed as he moved with precise, economical movements, each action designed for maximum effect. Behind him, Zereth provided covering fire with deadly accuracy. Her chair's mobility systems allowed her to move in ways the enemies didn't expect, appearing from behind cover to strike before disappearing again. "The princess fights like her husband," one of the wounded conspirators gasped before losing consciousness. "Better," Marcus said, reloading his weapon. "She fights like herself." They continued toward the throne room, but the fighting grew more intense. The conspirators had expected to find a helpless princess hiding in her chambers. Instead, they found a warrior who had remembered her strength. At the grand staircase leading to the throne room, they encountered Chancellor Vexton himself, surrounded by his personal guard. "Princess Zereth," he called out, "this madness ends now. You are destroying our civilization with your lies." "My lies?" Zereth's voice was cold with anger. "You murdered my husband. You tried to murder me. You betrayed everything Zirion stands for. Your husband was a fool," Vexton snarled. He would have made us slaves to these primitive humans, just as you are doing now. Marcus stepped forward. Chancellor, you have one chance to surrender. Your conspiracy is exposed. The loyal guards are winning. And this now, Vexenus' eyes fill with hatred. You think you understand us, human. You think your friendship with the princess means anything. You are nothing but a reminder of her dead husband. When this is over, she will see you for what you really are, a poor substitute for the man she truly loved. The words hit their target. For a moment, doubt flickered in Zarathus's eyes. Was that all Marcus was to her? A replacement for Kelmer? Marcus saw her hesitation and knew exactly what the Chancellor was trying to do. Princess. He said quietly, you know who you are. You know what we've built together. Don't let him take that away from you. Zarath looked at Marcus. Really? Looked at him? Yes, he reminded her of her husband. But over the weeks of their friendship, she had come to know him as his own person. Marcus was brave like Kelmer, but in a different way. He was kind like her husband, but with his own unique gentleness. He had helped her heal, not by replacing her lost love, but by showing her that she could love again. You're right, Chancellor, she said finally. Marcus does remind me of my husband. They're both heroes who would risk everything to protect innocent people. But that's where the similarity ends. Marcus is his own man, and she paused, realizing the truth as she spoke it. I care for him because of who he is, not because of who he reminds me of. The Chancellor's face twisted with rage. Then you will die together. The final battle began. Vexenus' guards were skilled, but they were fighting for greed and power. Marcus and Zarath fought for truth and justice, and that made all the difference. Marcus had learned to work perfectly with Zarathus's fighting style. When she needed cover, he provided it. When he needed support, she was there. They moved together like dancers, each anticipating the other's actions. But the numbers were against them. Marcus was forced to take more and more risks to protect Zarath. A blast from an energy weapon grazed his shoulder, spinning him round. Another shot caught him in the leg, dropping him to one knee. Marcus. Zarath cried out, moving her chair to shield him. I'm okay, he said. Though blood was flowing from his wounds, keep fighting. Vexen saw his chance and raised his weapon, aiming directly at Marcus. This ends now, human. But he had forgotten that Zarath was still a princess of Zirion, still a trained warrior. Her shot was perfect, striking Vexen's weapon and sending it flying from his hands. No, she said firmly, this ends when you surrender. Before Vexen could respond, loyal palace guards burst into the throne room. Captain Merton, the head of the royal guard, surveyed the scene quickly. Princess Zarath, he said, bowing deeply, the palace is secure. The conspirators have been captured or have fled. Your broadcast convinced most of the guard to remember their true loyalty. Marcus tried to stand but stumbled. The wounds were worse than he had admitted. Zarath immediately moved to his side, her chair's medical systems already scanning his injuries. Get the royal physician, she ordered, now. As the medical team arrived and began treating Marcus's wounds, Zarath held his hand. You saved my life, she said softly. We save each other, Marcus replied weakly. That's what partners do. Partners, Zarath repeated, liking the sound of the word. Yes, that's what we are. As they waited for the medical team to stabilize Marcus for transport to the medical wing, both realized that they had won more than just a battle. They had found something worth fighting for. Not just justice for the past, but hope for the future. The conspiracy was broken, but the real work was just beginning. 2 weeks had passed since the battle in the throne room. Marcus lay in the royal medical wing, his wounds finally healing thanks to advanced Zirion technology. The doctors said he was lucky, a few inches different, and the energy blasts could have been fatal. Zarath had barely left his side during those first critical days. She read to him when he was unconscious, held his hand when the pain was too much, and argued with the doctors when they said he needed more rest. You're being too stubborn, Marcus said with a weak smile as she adjusted his pillows for the 10th time that morning. The doctors know what they're doing. Human medicine is different from ours. Zarath replied firmly, I want to make sure. They understand your needs. Marcus looked at her carefully. You don't have to take care of me like this, princess. I know you have important work to do. It was true. Since the conspiracy was exposed, Zareth had been busier than ever. The Galactic News Network's wanted interviews. The Zirian Council was holding emergency sessions to discuss the political changes. Representatives from dozens of worlds were arriving to meet with her. The work can wait. She said simply, "You are more important." Before Marcus could respond, Captain Merton entered the room with a formal expression. "Your Highness, the Galactic Council has reached their decision regarding the conspiracy trial." Zareth straightened in her chair. "What is their verdict?" "Chancellor Vexton and his conspirators have been found guilty of terrorism, murder, and treason. They will spend the rest of their lives in prison." The Council has also officially recognized Prince Kelmer as a galactic hero, and his sacrifice will be recorded in the official histories. Marcus saw tears form in Zareth's silver eyes. After 5 years of lies, her husband's true story would finally be known across the galaxy. "There is more news," Captain Merton continued. "The Council has voted to establish a new alliance between Zirian and Earth. They want you to lead the diplomatic mission. Princess, they say your courage during the crisis proved that our species can work together." "What about the princess's position here on Zirian?" Marcus asked. "The people have demanded that she be named heir to the throne," Merton said with a smile. "Her father, the king, agrees. Princess Zareth will be the next ruler of Zirian." Marcus felt a mix of pride and sadness. Zareth deserved this recognition, but it also meant their paths would separate. She would be a queen with responsibilities to billions of people. He was just a soldier. "Congratulations, Your Highness," he said formally. "You will be an excellent queen." Zareth noticed his change in tone immediately. "Marcus, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," he said, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. "This is wonderful news. You're getting everything you deserve." Captain Merton sensed the tension and quietly left the room. Zareth moved her chair closer to Marcus's bed. "Tell me what you're thinking," she said softly. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "You're going to be a queen, Zareth. You'll have duties to your people, responsibilities across the galaxy. And I'm just a human soldier from a small planet. We live in different worlds. Is that what you think?" Zareth asked, her voice surprised. "That our different positions matter, don't they?" Zareth took his hand in both of hers. "Marcus, do you remember what you told me the first day we met? You said the body is just the vessel. The spirit is what matters. The same is true for titles and positions. They're just vessels. What matters is the person inside." She paused, gathering her courage for what she needed to say next. "When I first saw you, yes, you reminded me of Kelmer. But these past weeks, I've learned something important. Love isn't about finding someone to replace what you've lost. It's about finding someone who helps you become who you're meant to be." Marcus looked up at her, hope beginning to show in his dark eyes. "You didn't try to replace my husband's memory," Zareth continued. "You honored it while helping me write a new chapter. You saw strength in me when I had forgotten it existed. You treated me as a warrior when everyone else saw only a victim." "Zareth, I love you, Marcus Chen," she said firmly. "Not because you remind me of someone else, but because of who you are, your kindness, your courage, your stubborn refusal to give up on people. I love the way you see possibilities where others see problems. I love how you make me want to be better than I am." Marcus felt his heart racing. "I love you too," he said quietly. "I think I have since that first day in the garden. But your people, your responsibilities, will be handled together." Zareth interrupted. "The Council didn't just offer me a diplomatic position, Marcus. They offered us one. They want the human soldier who helped expose the conspiracy to work alongside the Zirian princess who broadcast the truth. They think we make a good team." "A team," Marcus repeated, remembering their conversation after the battle. "Partners," Zareth confirmed. "In every sense of the word, if you'll have me." Marcus struggled to sit up, ignoring the protests from his healing wounds. "Are you asking me to marry you, Your Highness?" Zareth smiled, and it was the same radiant expression that had first reminded him of her husband. But now it was uniquely hers. I'm asking you to build a future with me. Marriage, partnership, whatever words you want to use. I'm asking you to stay. Yes, Marcus said without hesitation. Yes to all of it. When they kissed, it felt like a promise, not just between two people who had found love, but between two species learning to understand each other. 3 months later, the royal garden was decorated with flowers from both Earth and Zirian. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the wedding of Princess Zareth and Marcus Chen, now promoted to ambassador. As they spoke their vows, Zareth looked out at the crowd and saw something that would have been impossible a year ago. Humans and Zirians standing together, not as strangers, but as friends. Disabled individuals from both species sitting proudly in the front rows, no longer hidden away. Do you think your husband would approve? Marcus asked quietly during the ceremony. Zareth smiled, thinking of Kelmer's belief that love could bridge any divide. I think he would be proud of what we've built together. The ceremony concluded, with both Earth and Zirian traditions symbolizing the new alliance between their peoples. But for Marcus and Zareth, it was something simpler and more profound, the beginning of a love story that honored the past while embracing the future. As they celebrated with friends from across the galaxy, both knew that their greatest adventures were still ahead of them. Together, they would help build a universe where differences were celebrated, where strength came in many forms, and where love could truly conquer all barriers. The human soldier had arrived and changed everything, but in the end, it was love that saved them all.